Warning, this podcast contains explicit sexual language and should only be listened to at work if you're looking for an excuse to connect with your HR representative. Additionally, all mentions of the word women include cis and trans women. For my friends who are genderqueer, gender fluid, figuring it out, anything in between, and feel like this conversation is also important for you, you are welcome here.
Will you open up with me? These pages, they can feed your innermost desires. Do you feel inspired? Are you getting what you need? Are you coming curiously? A secret safe with me. And here you can simply be yourself. Sweet romance. Come on in, come on in, come on.
Hi, y'all. This is Jace, she, they, and you found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels. This is a reintroduction call to action episode. Ha, Seffi, no idea what I was going to throw in there.
No.
No. I feel like Seffi is just my unwilling victim in so many ways. But for those of you who are new to Jace Reads Romance, maybe you haven't listened to all 37 episodes that we've done over the last 37 episodes. I know, have already gone live. And maybe you haven't listened to them all. That's fine. That's a lot of episodes. I talk a lot, y'all. But if you're new to Jace Reads Romance, or maybe you've gotten lost in the forearms and forgot what we're actually here to do, we're here to get in conversation how to use romance novels to empower ourselves in our sex lives. And there are various ways in which we have sex. And straight up, there is no wrong way to be a sexual human being or a non-sexual human being. Even if you're on the ace-demi spectrum, sex still plays a part in your life. It's part of humanity. And if you're going to interact with humans, not having sex is also a thing that you have to deal with. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we do is we look at books as tools to build a vocabulary, both of our fantasy and how to take those things into reality. And I think so often we as women, and I mean cis, trans, and honestly anyone who has ever felt that they have been oppressed by the patriarchy or the system that we have here, especially in America, that puritanical bullshit, that purity culture bullshit, that sex is wrong and dirty and your wants are wrong or dirty. This is a way for you to free yourself from that. I am firmly of the belief that the way that we overcome things is by educating ourselves about them.
Yes.
And the last thing you really want to do is go look up sex on the internet. You don't do it. Oh. It is not a reliable source of information. And society might tell you it's a magazine. Nope, don't read those either.
No.
Potentially porn? No, don't. Porn is fine. Porn in and of itself is not a horrible thing. I think the porn industry has its own problems, and we do not need to go into that right now. I am not here to fix that industry.
No.
But the magic of romance novels are that they are primarily written for women by women.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of what we see in the media, in our world, is for the male gaze. That is what we've been told. That is what we are shown. That is what is presented to us as truth. And it isn't. There's also the female gaze. What do we want? How do we explore that big ocean of desire?
Mm-hmm.
And it's different. Women and men, I'm not going to say, feminism, I am a strong feminist. But I think in general, the things that turn men on are not the same things that turn women on. And if we don't allow ourselves to explore what turns us on, yes, as a big collective group known as women, but also as individuals, then we can't engage in a healthy, satisfying sexual experience with a partner or partners.
That is not to say that there isn't some crossover. We're going to allow for that. Like, it's not, we're not saying that this is the exact way it is, completely be all end all. Absolutely not.
No, there are always exceptions to the rule. I myself, I am an exception to many rules, to many, many rules. But one of the things about one's sexuality is that it is something you can explore on your own and something to explore with a partner.
Yes.
However, I believe that unless you take time to explore it on your own, you will never be able to fully explore it with a partner. So the solo adventure that you go on is incredibly important. And then the skills that you need to build in order to communicate that to a potential partner are equally important.
Yes.
What I love about romance novels is also these brilliant wordsmiths have used all of their skills to give you words,
yes,
to describe things. The funny feeling in your tummy, the nibbling of your ear, the figure 8 motion that you make when you're fucking, whatever it is. They have spent probably hours agonizing over the adjectives they use to describe these things. And you can figure out what it is that you prefer, what it is that turns you on. And then with your partner, not just use the words that you use, because everyone's got a different interpretation of that, but then have this bigger catalog of direction, of information, so that you can bridge whatever gaps there are between you and a partner. If I say, hey, partner, I want you to nibble my ear. I fucking love this example. If I want you to nibble my ear, and in my brain, that is you taking your little teethy teeth and biting on my earlobe. And if for my partner, that means taking the little lipsy lips and like sucking on the back of my neck kind of ear space. Those are not the same thing. And I might get frustrated and my partner might be confused if I'm like, that's not what I meant. But if I say, hey, I want you to nibble my ear, take your teeth and gently like drag them down my earlobe, find a little bit of tension. And while that's happening, go, yes, no, harder, stay there, suck, lick, whatever. My partner is going to learn, ideally, hopefully you have an attentive partner that wants you to be satisfied, and then be able to recreate that on their own or experiment or try something new. And like, maybe I've never thought about this because I've been thinking about nibbling my ear, but them actually sticking their tongue in my ear is going to do way bigger things. And because I've given my partner permission to experiment, to try things out, they know that I'll give them feedback in the moment without being cruel, without getting frustrated. They're going to take liberties to, maybe drag their teeth up the side of my ear or stick their tongue in my ear or bite the back of my neck or do something new that maybe they've been fantasizing about and didn't have the words to express to me.
It's all about facilitating an open and safe space for you and your partner to be in.
Yeah. So how do we actually get to that point? That's so great, Jace. I love that you have those words from your 20 plus years of reading romance to communicate with that with any partner that you have. Yeah. Thank you. It's been a long time coming. It's a lot of work, and it's not always fun or easy still to have these conversations. They're vulnerable. They're awkward. It's not easy to say to a partner, hey, that thing that I know you really like doing, I hate it. Every single time you do it, it makes me go, ah. and I know that you like it so much I can see it, but we got to cross this bridge. Or this thing that I really want you to do, I know you hate. You've expressed your confusion about it, but can we just try it, please, just once? I'll never ask it again. It's not easy to have these conversations even now. So if you feel like I'm not completely comfortable yet, you may never be. And that is what being vulnerable is about. But in this episode of Jace Reads Romance, I want to talk about what action steps we can take as readers that will allow us to really explore the fullest breadths of what this romance genre has to offer. Sephi, are you with me?
I am so with you. 100%.
Yes. So the first thing I'm going to say is, what is reading? What does reading mean?
Sorry, that shot me back to like elementary school for about 10 seconds. Like, what is reading?
But honestly, this is a fucking debate in the world of readers. And I'm laying down the law. Reading is anything you fucking say it is. If you're reading a physical book, if you're reading an ebook, if you're listening to an audiobook, that all counts as reading.
Yes.
And just because I am completely incapable of remembering the details of an audiobook does not mean it didn't count, does not mean I didn't enjoy myself. That is fine. It just means I can't be critical about an audiobook because I'm also judging the actors because I'm a little bit ridiculous and I have my own feelings. I get it. I understand my shortcomings. I recognize them. I accept them. We're going to move forward.
Hey, I have DNF'd audiobooks because I don't like the narrators. So
straight up DNF'd audiobooks because of the narrators.
So many.
straight up have DNF'd books because of the narrators. And that's just me. Oh, no, I'm not going to tangent. Rein it in.
Oh, so mark your calendars, people. Oh, I'm in such a spicy mood. Sorry.
That's fine. No, this is a spicy conversation. So before we get into anything, I just want to let you know, any way that you read is valid. If you read fan fiction, if you read romance novels, if you read whatever new thing is out there. I know there are new ways to read romance, and I do not participate in them because I'm old. I'm Granny Jace. Cut that. But I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that one day. One day that is going to be my fucking title.
I love it.
Yeah. So there's a lot out there and a lot of options for you. And however you read, I applaud you for. What I would like us to do in this episode is figure out how we can break through what is being fed to us by the algorithm, by the patriarchy, by the system that isn't growing, changing fast enough in order to find the things that truly speak to us. And I don't necessarily mean crazy ass, kinky monster shit. I just mean stories that show life as you want it, as you see it, in all of its idiosyncrasies and all of its diversity, in all of the ways in which we as individuals don't align with the societal standards that are usually presented to us. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. So I'm going to say step 1, be a basic bitch. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Honestly, there is a reason Basic Bitch books exists. And it's because they're easy. They don't push boundaries too hard. If you've never read explicit sex in a novel, it might make you feel lots of things, especially if you're trying to break through your own boundaries. These are books that are safe. In my opinion, I'd say Book Lovers is probably my favorite, or Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Those are two very easy ones. There are two very popular ones, and they are both contemporary romance. So if you're not ready to move into fantasy, those are two that I highly recommend. It's nothing terribly crazy. Neither of them really involves being saved as a damsel in distress. They're both intelligent, strong women that I think make an easy toe to dip into romance. They are both traditionally published. So if you're not familiar, there is traditional publishing, trad publishing. They're the big ones. There's indie publishing, smaller publishing houses. And then there's self-publishing, which is a totally new thing. Yes, I will do an episode on the publishing world at some point. It will happen,
Yeah.
it will happen, it will happen. What you can do with those basic books, it's usually cishet. I mean, if you're looking for some queer recommendations, I think something like Delilah Green Doesn't Care for a sapphic romance is pretty standard for that. If we're thinking MM, you've got your Red, White, and Royal Blue or your Unlikely Heir. The second one is very light spice. And these are books that, again, don't really push the envelope. These are great books to kind of stick with for a little bit. They give you some words to work with about oral sex, about penetration. Oh, actually, I'd say Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood is probably a better one if you're looking for words, because that book fucking floored me. So if you like Love on the Brain, oh my gosh, she's just getting so much better as a writer. I think every single time I read a book of hers, it's getting better and better and better. And I'm so excited to see her pushing her envelope. So once you figure out kind of what you're interested in, both in terms of the story, the types of relationship, and the types of sex that make your tummy feel funny, you can start to look for those things. Or if it's tropes, I really like enemies to lovers. I really like banter. I really like older. I really like young adult. If you're a young adult, you're not getting any sex. Or if you're a young adult, you're not getting any sex. So I'm saying once you've gotten a couple books in, you have diversified some of your reading. If you're looking for my favorite books at every spice level, here's a plug. I have a lead magnet on my website, jacereadsromance.com. Sign up for my newsletter and you will get this PDF of my favorite books at every spice level. So that's a different situation. That might be a horse of a different color for you. Once you start to figure out what you like, once you're comfortable with this genre as a whole, then you can start to look for those things specifically. What are books that have a lot of sex? What are books that have very little sex? What are books that have various types of sex, both in terms of oral, anal, vaginal, kink, vanilla? Where are places and authors who do those things justice? And maybe it's because you just like reading about it. Maybe it's because you've never had it before, you've never been satisfied before, or you are not sure what will get you where you're going. But something like Pucking Around, where there's polyamory and there's a lot of sex in a lot of different ways, and there's MMF action happening, which means two, the men are also in love and having sex with each other, even though it's an MMFM relationship. It's fucking great. You maybe never, fucking great. It's everything that I've wanted. Maybe you've never thought about that. Maybe you've never thought, ooh, the idea of two men together will be appealing to me. Maybe that's the fantasy that gets you going. And if I haven't said this yet, please, Michael, turn the volume up. Reading romance as a fantasy doesn't mean you want all of this shit to happen to you in real life. Like maybe you as a human are very much monogamous. That is your sexuality. You can't envision being in a relationship with more than one human. But reading polyamorous stories gets you wetter than Niagara Falls. And there is nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
There's nothing wrong with anything that turns you on. Should I say that again?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with you for whatever it is that turns you on. As long as the sex that you're practicing in your life is risk aware, consensual with a fellow adult.
Yes.
I squished those terms together.
Yes, you did.
On purpose. It was on purpose.
No.
Thank you. For those of you in the kink world, yes, I know rack, risk-aware, consensual kink. But if you're not kinky, you still need risk-aware, consensual sex because, I don't know, maybe your partner really wants to reverse cowgirl and you know that that is the most dangerous position that you can be in.
Yes,
It's risky. It's risky. And that's the thing that so many of us as women have never even been allowed to fantasize about sex. You know what? That's what I'm going to talk about today. Fuck so much. We're going to talk about letting romance novels be the fantasy that you've never been allowed to have. That's today.
Yeah.
Cool, Michael. Sorry. Re-edit. But women in this society are not allowed to be sexual.
No.
In pretty much every single circumstance.
Yeah.
Unless you're married and only with that person, but you've never been taught how to talk to that person about sex. Yeah. And I know that's not everyone and how most people were raised. Fuck, it's not even how I was raised. I was not raised like that. So for those of you who were, I cannot empathize, but I sympathize because purity culture is still part of the general demise of America. Honestly, it's part of our the demise of America.
I can empathize with y'all because I was raised that way. That was my upbringing. So, and it's caused so many problems. We're just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine if just knowing being raised in general America and how sex was portrayed and how relationships were portrayed and how women's bodies were portrayed in the 90s and early 2000s. Yeah. All of us, we were fighting so hard to keep that shit locked down. We lived through it so that you don't have to.
Exactly. We don't want that to come back in any way, shape,
you
or
don't
form.
Want low-rise jeans to come back.
No.
You don't want heroin chic to come back. That is not okay.
No.
So anyway, if you were told that sex was dirty and that you were dirty if you thought about it, or had it, or enjoyed it, or were led to believe that sex is unpleasant or painful and only good for the dude. If you were told to lie back and think of England, as the metaphor goes, I think that romance novels are going to be the gateway for you to let go of some of that bullshit. And part of it is romance novels involve no one else but you. You don't have to masturbate. You can read the filthiest fucking romance novel ever and not orgasm. If you're still weird about masturbation, that is between you and a therapist. I am not a therapist, but you can read the nastiest shit you've ever even thought of and never orgasm.
Oh, yeah.
But what it can allow you to do is be like, all right, that shit is what turns me on. What about it turns me on? We've talked about this. Forced sex fantasies are a very normal thing for women to have.
Yeah.
I will be straight with y'all. I have had them. They were some of the first unconscious fantasies that I had. Did I understand?
I'm right there with you.
I had no idea what was going on.
No.
It was not conscious. This was before I started reading romance novels, y'all. Before I started reading romance novels.
Yeah.
And it didn't occur to me until much later that, oh, was this right? Was this wrong? Was I sick? Was I twisted? And luckily, I didn't have to deal with that for very long because I found romance novels that immediately gave voice to what I was feeling, what I was thinking about, and that in my life, what I wanted sexually and how that played out. So the shame that I read in a lot of these novels where women have forced sex fantasies and they're like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? I'm like, nothing's wrong with you, y'all. Like and it makes me sad that so many women have them and then feel shame for them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. One thing that I have kind of come to realize about myself, and I'm not saying that this is every woman or person with a forced sex fantasy. For me personally, it is a way of taking back power from a situation that happened to me, and regaining my autonomy and the power in that for me. Now, I'm not saying that that is what it is for everyone, not at all. I just know that that's partially what it is for me. Even if it isn't that, there's no shame in it. It's something that gives you that funny feeling in your tummy. Like it's something that is really attractive to you, and that's okay.
Totally fine. Something that Nat from Trigger Warning Romance said when she was on here, oh God, 6 months ago, was for her when she reads dub-con or non-con, it doesn't bother her because she has already given consent to that experience by choosing to read the book.
Yes.
And that is very powerful. In her life, she doesn't want any of that. She doesn't even want to role play consensual non-consent with her husband. That's not part of her sex life, but it's part of her fantasy life and it's part of her reading. Yeah. And there are things that you might love reading about and never want to do in your life, and that's okay. You can still read about them.
Exactly.
So with romance novels, if we're going back to starting with basic bitch books, do you want to read about sex? Is really what that's going to answer. Yeah. And the answer might be no. I want to give y'all permission to want to read a romance novel with no sex. That is fine. Exactly. They're out there, or Fade to Black, Closed Door. You don't have to read explicit stuff.
No. And that doesn't make you any less of a romance reader at all.
Or any less of an empowered sexual being.
Exactly.
It's fun. But if you're struggling with how to communicate about sex, reading about two people who don't struggle to communicate or who do and work through that can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Working through those things via other people's stories can give words to things that you might not be able to express at this moment or might be dying to express at this moment.
Yeah.
So then what is it about those fantasies, those things that you want to explore? Is it a loving partner? Is it a kind partner? Are you looking for representation in your books? Oh my God, y'all, I can't even tell you. No one looks like me. No one looks like me in romance novels. Growing up, no one had a double-digit ass and no boobs.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few that have come out lately, but no one really looks like me in romance novels. So,
and of course, like no one's going to look exactly like me. No one's going to be like a 5'7" curly haired human with my exact body type because it's unique and beautiful and mine.
Yep.
But I do remember the first time I read about someone having curly hair in a book and I was shocked. Oh my gosh, curly hair. I have curly hair. There was nothing else about that character that was anything like me. Nothing, literally nothing else about that character that was anything like me.
I remember the first time I read about a female main character that had brown eyes. They never have fucking brown eyes.
No, it was always blue-eyed blondes.
I know.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So there are these things that were not shown, and as we look, you can even look up these micro tropes: blue-eyed FMCs, brown-eyed MMCs, and find the thing that you're looking for. So in your fantasy, what is it that you're looking for? Are you looking for someone who looks like you, or are you looking for someone who loves like you, or are you looking for someone who fucks like you do? And as you read your novels, as you diversify yourselves, I really encourage you to take a trope or take a thing and then find all the different kinds of people who write that. So maybe you're looking for oral sex. And don't just look for the basic bitch oral sex. Look for sapphic oral sex. If it's about receiving it, it's about cunnilingus, not fellatio. Look up sapphic oral sex. Look up groups. Look up other ethnicities. Look up BIPOC authors. Because even if you're white, I have read some absolutely fucking filthy in the best way novels by people who do not look like me and do not love like me. And I'm like, I'm taking that. I am taking that into my spank bank. I'm taking that into my personal life. I'm taking those words into it, because what I'm looking for is the ability to communicate, or the ability to fantasize, or have the type of sex, or have the type of relationship that I want. And that person nailed it in that aspect. Do I care that the FMC is described as having ebony skin and box braids? No, I don't give a shit, because she's beautiful and amazing, and that dude eats her pussy like his last meal. That's what I want.
Exactly.
I want to be a fly in the wall and be like, yes, show me more, show me more. If you're a voyeur, romance novels are going to be great for you.
It's true.
It's going to be so great for you. If you have like a secret voyeuristic situation going on in your brain, read all the romance novels.
All of them.
If you're looking to explore aspects of kink, power dynamics, impact play, role playing in general, and maybe your partner doesn't want that, or you've never even thought about it, so you don't know how to introduce it to a potential partner, read books.
Yeah.
There are books, yes, where someone's introduced to kink, and those books can be helpful, but also read the books where they're established in their kink. I just read Plie. These are two people who, actually, the MMC was newer to kink than the FMC.
Okay.
Which was super fun.
Yeah, I like that.
I do like that. And give yourself permission to just kind of step out of what it is that you do and understand that the fantasies you have are not necessarily indicative of the kind of sex you want.
Exactly. I will give a slight caveat with the kink
Yes,
stuff.
please. Oh, yes, please. Our resident kinkster.
If you find something in your kinky romance books that you want to maybe implement in your personal life, the biggest thing is to do actual research on it first, by yourself or with your partner, and with your partner together, all of that. Because it's the RAC, risk aware, consensual kink. You want to be safe. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Don't just follow
romance
the romance novels.
Yeah.
Don't follow that. Look into actual what's the word I'm looking for?
Romance novels are not your how-to guide.
No, not for that.
So romance novels are a great introduction to, ooh, that gave me the funny feeling in my tummy. Would I like that?
Yeah.
And then go do research, legitimate research into what you're thinking about. Don't go from, ooh, I just read about, oh my God, I just read the BDSM scene in the naughty list. I should go to the dungeon. No. Don't go straight to that kind of impact. Don't read that. Don't fucking read that book as a how-to guide. Let's also be very clear about that book.
No, because
it broke me.
There are some really, really great resources. That was the word I was looking for earlier. There are some really great resources out there to help you stay safe in that particular practice.
I can put them in the show notes.
Yeah, of whatever you may specifically be looking for. I'm going to name one because we had Ra on here and she is a beautiful person, but
Amazing.
Her Pink Kink podcast is a great resource to use. They have episodes labeled by topic. So if there's a particular thing and you don't want to listen to their whole catalog, find the topic. It's a great resource.
On their social media, they post a lot of resources as well for topics. They're super great.
Yeah.
She and Tara Khaleesi.
Yes.
Now that you've started reading romance, now that you've figured out what it is that appeals to you, now that you've been thinking about the fantasy of sex, of being sexual or not sexual, there are books and stories that put those things in the forefront.
Yes.
Maybe you've got a thing for cowboys. There are cowboy romances. Maybe you've always envisioned going into the jungle on an adventure. There's Raiders of the Lost Heart. There are stories and people for everyone. Yeah. And if you feel like you are not finding what it is that you're looking for, what has probably happened is you are stuck in the algorithm and in the big bubble of white cis het romance that is popular.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you if you are a white cis het woman who wants vanilla sex.
No.
With a dude. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
But when we limit ourselves to a certain type of book and we don't open ourselves up to every type of fantasy, we can miss things that are essential to our happiness and satisfaction. Y'all, you don't know what you don't know.
That's exactly right.
So even if you're like, well, I'm a cis het, or like I'm a Latina woman and I like other Latina women and I'm only going to read books about Latina love. That's amazing, wonderful, beautiful. But you might have no idea that this MMF book has the best fucking cunnilingus scene you'll ever fucking read. You have no idea. And that's the technique that you want.
Yeah.
You might discover that even though you are a cis het woman or a queer woman, oh my gosh, what was it? The Kids Are All Right. I think there's where it's Annette Bening and
Mark Ruffalo.
What's her face? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're two women who are in a relationship with each other and they watch men having sex with each other to get turned on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You might be like, you know what? All I want is a vagina, but I love watching penises. Amazing.
Yeah.
Go read that. Go find yourself some romance to titillate.
Julianne Moore.
That titillates you. Julianne Moore. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, and isn't there like a statistic out there that women, whether they're, I think it's leaning more towards cishet women, they watch more gay porn than gay men sometimes. Like male porn.
Oh my God, it's so hot.
Yeah.
So hot. Look, y'all, there are some ways that I'm the exception, and I feel like in terms of my sexuality, I lean toward the male tendencies a lot more than the female tendencies. But there's this dumb thing of, and maybe it's because we've been making fun of men for too long, but they kind of deserve it. Why do men love lesbians? They're never getting in there. If one woman is good, two women are better. That's kind of it.
Not how it works.
That's not how it works, but that is definitely how I feel about men. I'm like, I want to watch them fuck because if one man is hot, two men are better.
Exactly.
But it's actually, oh man, I feel like I need to go grab my textbook. But I remember in my human sexuality course in college that when doing research about arousal, especially when it comes to sexual preferences, they this one study couldn't use heterosexual pornography because they'd get turned on regardless. And so it was, they'd have to use either MM or FF pornography for this study they were doing about like, what is it that you find arousing? Is it like, is it your gender or is it the opposite gender? Is it the person of your gender finding satisfaction? Is it the person that you'd be fucking finding satisfaction? Like, what was it about that? And they couldn't use heterosexual couples because then they couldn't discern what it was.
Yeah. That's really interesting. That is very, I mean, it makes sense. But
it does make sense.
That's so intriguing.
I know. I love it.
Humans are interesting animals.
Humans are so fun. When it comes to, here's some resources that I want to share with y'all about places that I found really successful in broadening my authors that I read. We've talked a few times about how do we break out of the system? And number one, you got to take action. It won't happen without deliberate intentionality.
Yeah.
But I found that just looking up, one of the things that I've done for specifically Steamulet and Romance Con, it's the next con that I'm going to. I haven't started my Smut Lovers one, but that's going to change everything, is I do use Kindle Unlimited, and I have a Kindle and I have an Amazon account. And before this, my Amazon ads and the recommendations were all like white men. Weirdly, a lot of mafia. I don't know why I don't like mafia. What's wrong?
You don't. No, you don't. That's so
But
funny.
I like a lot of dark vampires, and so they're like, you must like dark mafia. I'm like,
no.
I don't know. I don't know about that. But so the algorithm was wrong.
You're very.
But I really like a lot of dark romance. I've entered into a weird dark why choose romance phase of my life. Which is not surprising at all, given like the Black Dagger Brotherhood and Laurel K. Hamilton. I have an entire harem of fairy men who murder people who have to try to get me pregnant. It's fine. It's fine. Man. Nothing to see here. Doyle. I love him. I love Doyle. He's the best. But what I did when I was looking for these authors, I took some time and I made a wish list of books by all of these authors. So I went through, and Steamulet was a really great example because most of the authors on that list, it was 160, 180 authors.
Yeah,
so many of them I'd never read before. So most of them were people of color. So looking up all of those authors and putting books of theirs on a wish list absolutely broke my algorithm in a great way. And especially reading these books broke the algorithm. Romance Con is another one that has a fairly diverse author group. So if you're looking to diversify in terms of race and including more people of color, that is a great one. They have a lot of queer as well on that list. And making these wish lists, it also gives you a place to start. Like, who do I even look at? Look to these two. If you're looking for kink, Smut Lovers, that conference has done a really good job. Like, their whole intention is education. So the authors who are going there are people that are passionate about accurate sex and kink in novels as well. I will say it's not as diverse in terms of POC authors, but we're getting there too. There's a lot of kink, there's a lot of queer. So I would say, what is the next thing that you're looking to do and diversify? Go to those lists, go to those conference lists. Even if you're not going to the conferences themselves, the author lists are there.
Yeah.
Just put A.L. Cunningham and Joe Segura and Nina Kumar Danielle Allen on your list and put it out there. Break that chain. Go to your library. Get these books. Put them on, even if you put them on hold, just put them on hold.
Yeah.
Just put them in a tag. The more that you engage with these authors on the system, the more that they're going to be recommended and the more your library is going to do it. And it's such a wonderful thing. Oh my gosh, I did not expect to have like my heart ripped out by The Blood Trials by Annie Davenport. That book was not on my radar because it's sci-fi fantasy with a 19-year-old on a planet, and it's honestly not terribly spicy.
Yeah,
it's more violent than spicy.
That's not
But that book ripped my heart out. No, it's not. No, it's not my go-to, but it's so good. It's so good.
So I have a question. So
yes, please.
If someone has Kindle Unlimited, can they see other people's wish lists? Like, would they be able to see your wish list?
Oh, geez. I don't think you can see like through Kindle Unlimited, but I think the only lists that I have public are like my supply lists for conferences.
Okay.
But
you can make lists. But you can make lists public. I will make my
Steamy Lit public. I will make my Steamy Lit book, my Steamy Lit and my Romance Con public, and I'll put actual links to both Bookshop and Amazon in the show notes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because I would say
note of all the books that I've also read too, as opposed to.
Yeah, because I would say that would be a great resource as well, that in and of itself, for people who are looking to trying to break their algorithms.
Ooh, let's do this together, y'all. We'll do it together. Oh, man. What is it that I want to say next about fantasy? Oh, the other thing is you don't have to label yourself as anything in your fantasy. Honestly, before Jace Reads Romance became a thing, I read a very small portion of romance novels. I read the ones that I wanted to read, and they were mostly vampires, and they were mostly white shoes, and I have no shame about that. And while not everything is my favorite, still not Mafia.
No.
I have found some books over this last year, not even year, that Jace Reads Romance has been a live thing for y'all, that would never have been on my radar before. Kimberly Lemming, Talia Hibbert, Emily Rath. I had never read Jennifer Armentrout. I was not into the more fantasy. I was like, keep me in PNR. Yeah. I hadn't even researched new authors in a long time. Nalini Singh has been around for decades in the PNR world, and I have her entire back catalog that I now get to go enjoy. Things are also, just because things are coming out now, doesn't mean you shouldn't look at books that have come before.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? All right. Was that rambly enough for you all? Can we turn this into a coherent episode? And if not, Sephi and I will just find time to do something else. Yeah, originally this was just going to be like, oh, conferences, blah, 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 blah. No. I feel like we needed to do a re-intro, like talk about why we're here.
Yeah.
Let the fantasies live. Ugh. That's it for today, y'all. This has been a 3 Paws Productions podcast. Our producer is Sephi. Michael Achenbach is our patient editor. Our theme song is written and performed by Diana Weishauer. You can find show notes and so much more at jacereadsromance.com. That's JAYCE Reads Romance. Follow along on TikTok and Instagram at Jace Reads Romance.
If you'd like to ask a question or share a story for the podcast, call and leave a message at 661-JACE-RR. That's 661-529-2377. Or send an email to jace@jacereadsromance.com. Finally, like and subscribe so you can get every episode when they drop. You can also leave us a review to help others find us. And remember, this is Jace holding space for you.